we had the head, what is called the HOD, head of department from Limpopo, responsible for safety, responsible for transportation and everything else, was in that meeting. We had the municipal traffic, we had the provincial traffic, we had everybody else, whether it's the police, whether it is CDF, whether it is SARS, whether it's everybody, including the Cross-Border Road Transport Agency. And we engaged. And the key issue was, we need to work together to understand where are these people coming from so that we can be able to deal with this issue. Because again, it gives an impression that there are people that are either entering the country through the bushes or probably through the rivers or anything like that, and they have a way to connect back with these vehicles and all of that. Now, without wasting time, let me tell you about the decision that we took yesterday to deal with this particular issue. And the reason we took this decision is because we agreed we must hold each other accountable as the ecosystem so that we are able to know where is the problem and where is the leakage. So number one, we used to have, during festive period, two key, I would say, roadblocks on the corridor, on the N1, out of Beitbridge. There is Matombo roadblock, 10 kilometers out of Beitbridge. It is just on the north of Musina. And that is where we'll then put the roadblock. We'll have the second one at the toll gate, which is called Baobab. 30 kilometers out of Musina, we'll have a roadblock there. And those roadblocks becomes fundamental in assisting us to be able to ensure that if anybody is leaked somewhere else, they get picked up there, because that is the main corridor that leads you into Louis Trichardt and ultimately into the country. Now, the only challenge is those roadblocks, you will find that they become more 24-hour during a hectic period. But in between, then those roadblocks then get relaxed, particularly the one at the toll gate at Baobab. Then we realize that we are not able to account properly about those people because that roadblock is not 24 hours. Because if it was 24 hours, we would be definitely sure these people were not picked up in Musina. It means they were picked up in Louis Trichardt or actually in Polokwane. If that is the case, then we need to be able to identify, have these people been in the country all this while, or they had a way to walk through the farms or anything like that and end up in Musina, in Louis Trichardt. If that is the case, how many kilometers? That's 90 kilometers. So we need to have empirical data to be able to know what is the problem statement. So what we agreed yesterday is, from today, there's going to be a 24/7 roadblock at that particular toll gate, and that is at Baobab. And that is a multidisciplinary roadblock. It includes everybody, the provincial traffic in terms of Limpopo, the Musina traffic, which is the localized ones, as well as Cross-Border Road Transport Agency, including the Road Traffic Management Corporation, which is RTMC. The border guards are going to be there, SANDF is going to be there, SAPS is going to be there, and the rest of the other stakeholders, so that we can get to understand what is actually going on, because that is very much fundamental. So that is one thing that we've decided on. Number two, we agreed that we are no longer going to accept manifest, what is called a passenger manifest that is handwritten. A passenger manifest is the list of all the people that are in the bus. So when you do interjurisdictional travel, even when you do local travel, the driver must have the list of all the passengers so that he can be able to account in case there's an accident. Those people, that paper must be able to indicate how many people were in the bus, what is their names, and all of those issues. Now, we've been accepting handwritten manifests because we understand it's Africa, our people, and what. But the problem is the drivers, they get correct numbers of people, they have a proper manifest, but what they do, they go and put people in the bus for their own sake. So they charge them for themselves, not even for the company. And then they add people on the manifest with a pen because the manifest is handwritten. So we decided it has to be typed manifest, and those are some of the intervention. The third issue, we've agreed that all buses, when they exit Beitbridge, all of them are going to be compelled to go to the weighbridge. Before now, those buses were going there through a sampling model, which were just identified by SANRAL on the corridor and take them to the weighbridge. Now we want every bus that enters South Africa to be accounted for in the weighbridge, so that when there is an issue inland, we are able to account for every bus in terms of weighbridge. Those are the agreements. Fourthly, we also agreed that all the cross-border permits has to be verified through electronic means. The Cross-Border Road Transport Agency confirmed they are going to be giving us access to their system, and they're going to train the border guards to make sure that all the cross-border permits that are brought into the port, we are able to verify them electronically in terms of their validity. Because we had a situation where people will bring in a paper that looks like a cross-border permit, and those things are handwritten. It becomes very difficult to be able to do verification. So effectively, you will then have people that do not necessarily have a proper authorization to move people around. But because they bring paper that cannot be verified electronically, you end up having to believe the paper and allow people to move people, only to find that it is an illegal transporter. That is what we have agreed. We are no longer going to be doing exactly that. So the third issue is we have also agreed that we are going to set up teams to patrol all the arteries, all the other roads that are actually around Musina, where people can actually try to divert and avoid coming through on the N1, so that we are able to make sure that all those areas are closed. And this is the agreement that we set yesterday, and we've agreed that we are going to implement all of them to make sure that we deal with all these issues. The deployment of the drones, particularly the night vision, because some of the people that were interviewed in the taxis were citing issues about being in some boat up on the western corridor of Beitbridge, and on that particular basis went through the farms and all of those kind of issues. So on that basis, we need to then expand or extend our footprint, even in terms of the coverage, in terms of the night drone vision, so that we can be able to also see those other particular areas. And of course, what is the long-term view? The long-term view is what the minister had said, rolling out of EMCS 2.0 with facial recognition, so that we can move away from these papers, passports and stuff, and start using a biometric, which is the face, because our faces cannot be the same. So that becomes fundamental to move people into the country, so that we are accountable for every other individual in terms of dealing with all of these issues. The last thing that I want to say, for the purposes of completion, in that meeting yesterday, we then brought the presidents, two presidents who came with their own executives, the president of International Cross-Border Taxi Organization, and that president came with all the executive, together with the president of what is called the International Cross-Border Bus Association. So they came through, and we told them they must work with us. If any of their drivers, any of their operators actually malfunctions in the value chain, those particular people must be fired. From where we are sitting, now we have put it very clear, even through the ecosystem, that all those drivers are going to be arrested, charged for aiding and abetting. And that is going to even happen inland. And inland is not done by BMA, but it has to be done by the traffic authorities that stop the people, to the extent that even the buses themselves has to be impounded. One thing that we realized yesterday when we discussed is that they actually impound a bus and they charge them 500. So they come and swap the 500 and they take the bus. So we're looking at other stringent measures to make sure that the owners of these buses are able to hold their drivers accountable. Because at the end of the day, if these people keep on being intercepted in the country with illegal people, it gives an impression that we don't know what we are doing. And that is why we had to have this meeting yesterday, to make sure that we close all these loopholes. And we said to everybody else in the ecosystem, we are going to be monitoring all these activities. And if there will be any other interception, we must be able to follow through on the decisions and make sure that we understand where the lapse was, so that we can be able to hold each other accountable. The minister talks about consequence management, and on that basis, it means if technocratically we are not able to hold people accountable, therefore it means that he will be able to hold us as leadership accountable. And that is why we have to make sure that we are able to understand what is going on. And therefore, we cannot continue with illegal migration that get facilitated without us not having any empirical data to understand what actually has transpired. So that is the response in terms of Letlogonolo's question. And the only thing that we can indicate is that we are doing our best. We have over 6 corridors plus in the country. We have the N4 corridor that comes from Lebombo. We never had any issues there, no interception. We have N11 corridor that comes from Groblersdal in the western corridor, coming from Botswana. No interception on the corridor, no issues. We have the N8 that comes in the central from Maseru, from Fixburg, no interception, no any other issue. Why do we always have issues with Beitbridge? And that is why we're very much clear even to the leadership of Beitbridge Port themselves to say, we have to make sure that we clean out the system and make sure that we give South Africans confidence that we know what we are doing in as far as border management is concerned. I took some bit of time, but we had to get this addressed. Thanks.